historic day. As Denise mentioned, my name is Sandy. I'm the Associate Dean in the School of Applied Science, Engineering, and Technology. Today I have the pleasure of introducing our guest speaker, StevenLittle, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about him. StevenLittle is a much sought-after expert on the subject of business growth and the future of opportunity. As a former president of 3 fast-growing companies, he now advises thousands of leaders of growing organizations and communities each year. For over 10 years, Steve was also a senior consultant for Inc. magazine. He's the author of the best-selling books, The 7 Irrefutable Rules of Small Business Growth, The Milkshake Moment, Overcoming Stupid Systems, Pointless Policies, and Muddled Management to Realize Real Growth. I can't wait to hear from him about that. And his newest book, Duck and Recover, The Embattled Business Owner's Guide to Survival and Growth. Steven regularly speaks for some of the world's leading organizations, including UPS, Microsoft, FedEx, Bank of America, National Association of Home Builders, and many others. His style has been described as real world, highly credible, and uniquely engaging. President of 3 fast growth companies, both Fame Inc. and Herb Industries achieved profitable growth rates of over 500% during his tenure. Steve is a graduate of Miami University and has studied at the Institute for Management Development in Switzerland and the University of Houston's Future Studies program. He and his family live in North Carolina.
If that's true, let's just say yeah. Yeah. Maybe next year we'll get you on. Because I don't do that. It's not what I've been asked to do. What I've been asked to do is what I do pretty much every day. That's to talk to people like you about what it takes to grow a business growth. But understand that I'm not one of you. How many people here are students? Raise your hand. Thank you for being here. Faculty, raise your hands. Thank you. Business, you work in business, you're a worker. You own the business. They always sit near the doors so they can get away because they're busy. Who has to be here? Being honest, I say that, though. I know you guys have to be here. I'll try to keep it engaging. Now, by definition, I'm the ignorant outsider. I'm not from the community. I'm not a student. Was one time in my life. Not a faculty member, but I've certainly behaved like one. I have been a business owner, but really I'm not now. Just my own business now. A couple employees. But I've done all those things, but I am the ignorant outsider. But what I've come to do today is to try to be that ignorant outsider that has a few ideas that you can take away. Can we agree that in 1 hour, if I give you one? It's a great day for Madison. There's some big things going on. We're about to see a big facility where they're cutting that ribbon. That's going to be exciting. And we're going to be hearing about new processes and procedures and ways of doing things in better and more efficient ways, and I'm for it. But understand that I'm also here to say that it's not going to be just about better processes and better production and better ways of doing things. We have to always keep our eyes on what I call the irrefutable rules. It's going to be about a laser-like focus on the irrefutable rules of growth. What leads to sustainable, profitable growth? These rules are irrefutable. Not because I say so, but because anyone who's ever achieved growth doesn't disagree with my rules. Over 10 years ago, I started with only 5, and I added 6, and I added a 7th. People that are stagnating and failing with their businesses argue with my rules almost every day through emails and phone calls. But people that have achieved sustainable, profitable growth never argue. They always say, why don't people see it the way you and I see it? Let me give you the definition. You ready? Just for the students, you ready? You guys are going to take notes? Seriously? I'm really, really important. They just told you that. They didn't bring up the pen. I guess you got photographic memories. Here's my definition. 5 years of 20% or greater. If for 5 years in a row, as a publicly privately held institution, even an educational institution, You can have top line, bottom line growth of 5 years in a row of 20% or greater. Both your top line and your bottom line growing 20% or greater. I've managed to accomplish that 3 times in my life. Stopped doing it. I discovered I like talking about it more than I like doing it. I like writing about it more than I like doing it. So a number of years ago, I stopped doing it, started talking to people like you about how you achieve it. It's not easy, but it is very doable. And by the way, in all 3 of my instances, it was in manufacturing. Raise your hand if you're in manufacturing one way or another today. Right. All 3 of them in manufacturing at a time when manufacturing was dead. In the textile industry where it was impossible to make money, supposedly. Right? So I like counter markets. Being counterintuitive when people tell me it can't be done, it's really when things get easier. Smart people get out, smart money gets out, and then people like you and I that maybe are just hardworking. We're not going to talk about this very long. I wrote about it years ago. 6,000 words on this subject alone. I could sum it up thusly. Purpose always precedes profits. Always. Fidelity to a worthy purpose is what leads to wealth accumulation. People do not get out of bed for a long time because of wealth accumulation. It works for a little bit. Maybe the people in this room have experienced it. Year, 2, 5. But ultimately, we don't get out of bed for wealth accumulation. That way we keep score with that wealth accumulation is fidelity to a worthy purpose, and the purpose is something beyond profit, and I don't know what it is for you. Sometimes people are trying to improve their communities. Sometimes people are trying to make the best pretzel of all time. I don't. It's very nice. Do 2 things, to do them both well, and to do them at the same time. It is to first recognize, and then to adapt to fundamental change. It's not about marketing necessarily. It's about seeing the big picture of marketplaces, seeing the changes happening in your company, in your community, in your industry, in your country, maybe even within yourself. To see that that change is happening, and then to proactively, and that's the key word, Brian, proactively, not reactively, to do something about it. Organizations that grow are led by people like you who proactively investigate change. My rules, I'll tell you my most important rule later. But rule number 3, effective growth planning is the best predictor of whether or not you'll grow. The best predictor. To be effective, by my definition, it has to be 3 things. It is written, or typed, right? Whichever you prefer. It is written, it is well communicated, and the circumstances dictate it's regularly updated. If you have a written, communicated, and updated plan for any endeavor, you as an individual trying to get through your coursework here, faculty member and trying to get better at their dissemination of information, a business owner, a business leader here today, planning works. Plans don't cause growth. Plans don't cause growth, but they highly correlate. All the studies, and I've looked at all of them. There's one recently at Cal Berkeley. There's number 1 reason by far. Not the number 1 reason they say, what's the number 1 reason? Take a guess.
Time.
Time. That's a good one. Lazy. Does that sound like you? I don't know. Maybe.
Attendance.
You're all getting close to the real answer.
Attendance.
Attendance. Here's the number 1 reason, ready? They don't know how. Why would they know how? Right? So you may feel lazy because you don't know how to do it. Or you may feel like there's all kinds of reasons why people don't like to get started. We don't like to get started with things we don't know how to do. It's hard to learn to speak a foreign language. I wasn't very good at it for a couple of years. I'm still not very good at it, as he will attest. What's your name?
Osvaldo.
Yeah, but you understand me, right? So that took years to get good at it. Take you years to get good at planning. There's no one in this room that won't benefit from written, updated, well-communicated planning systems. Whatever you're trying to accomplish. Faith-based institutions, nonprofit institutions, education institutions, business institutions are no different. Privately held, no different than publicly held. If you take nothing away from our time together, say, oh, that's great. Brought the speaker in from out of state to tell us we should plan better. I'm telling you, it works. Don't give up. Don't think you're lazy. It's not you're lazy. It's because it's hard. And most people don't know how to do it. The only way you can know how to do it is to do it. I studied Spanish all through high school, all through college. I even tutored all this school is, all your local government, state government, federal government. All it is a series of people carrying out processes. The more those processes serve those we purport to serve, the more likely we are to grow. In this instance, I'm saying customer. We're having a business discussion. It could be student, it could be client, it could be constituent, it could be patient, and this would be true. Whatever your endeavor is, this would be true. So what I'd like you to do is ask yourself a question. As you study this, as you teach this, and as you practice it, I'd like you to ask yourself a question. How can we define and deliver on the notion of better? What's better? Who defines better? Here's what happens so often.